Welcome to another AlertFind training session. In today's session, we'll be taking a look at three new modules in the user interface. Manage Library, where you will be able to create and manage templates. Alert Console, which is used to execute templates that have been already created. And Groups, which are different types of distribution lists that you can create in AlertFind. Let's begin with how to create a template and how to manage that template in the Manage Library section. The first way you can create a template is by creating it from a communication that you have already executed. To create a template from a notification that you have already sent out, go to the Send Notifications section in the UI. Search for the communication that you have already executed and double-click into the name of the communication that you wish to create as a template. On the top left corner of the new window that pops up, you will see the option Save as Notification Template. When you click on that button, a new window will pop up that will allow you to create a template based on the communication that you have previously sent. As you can see, the to-field, subject line, escalation profile, content, and responses have all been pre-populated with the information that was already sent out. This template will also be created with the advanced options settings. Any attachments of the escalation overrides that you have created will also be part of this specific template. The first thing that you would need to do is change the name of the template, to make sure it has a meaningful name according to the type of communication that you are sending out. In this case, we were sending out a hurricane warning. Therefore, I'll change the name to Hurricane Warning. The next section that you would need to set is the icon. When you click on the icon section, you will be able to choose the icon and the color scheme. Note that you are not able to import your own icon figures, but you do have a large selection from which you can choose from. I'll go ahead and choose green since it's a natural disaster, and then choose the figure that is pertinent to the subject of the communication that you are sending up. In this case, I'll choose the hurricane icon. Another section that you can fill out is description. The description will help you identify the content of the template. This is not a mandatory field and you can leave it blank if you wish. If you want to be able to send this notification using the hotline or using the API, please click on Send All Notifications and either generate a quick launch ID or enter one manually using your keyboard. If you do enter one manually, remember that it has to be a unique ID for this particular notification or template. Each template that you create will need to have a unique ID since when you dial into the hotline and want to execute the template, the hotline system will ask you for the quick launch ID of the template that you wish to execute. We do recommend that you always click on Auto-Generate Unique ID to allow the system to go through all the existing templates, broadcast groups, escalation groups, and smart groups to identify IDs that are already being used to make sure that there are no duplicates. Next, you will need to verify that the to-field, subject line, escalation override, content, responses, and any other advanced options are all correctly set for the template. Once you are sure that all the information is correctly filled out, then you will click on Save and Close. After you click on Save and Close, if you go to the Manage Library section, you'll see the template we just created has been added, as well as in the Alert Console. It is important that the name of your templates is also unique. You can add a description in order to quickly identify them. They can be executed from the Alert Console when you are logged in as an admin, using the AlertFind app, or using the hotline number. If you need to make any modifications to an existing template, you would need to go to the Manage Library section. Search for the template name that you wish to modify and double-click into the name. This will open a new window where you can modify all the different aspects or sections of the template. As you can see, the process of creating a template from a notification that has already been executed is quick and easy. Let's proceed to take a deep look at other things that you can do in the Manage Library section. You can edit an existing template, delete a template that you no longer want, create a report for an existing template or a group of templates that you select. Open a specific template in the Alert console in case you want to review it. Show sub-teams, which allow you to see the templates in the team that you are currently on or any other team, as well as clone communications. To create a communication template from scratch, click on the New section and a new pop-up window will appear with all the different settings that you will need to present to have the template ready for execution. For this training, let's create a template for an earthquake warning. In the name, we will put Earthquake Warning. Next, you can add the description that best describes the purpose of this template as well as the subject line of the communication that you are sending out. In case you are going to use the hotline or the API to execute this template, you'll need to select Send All Notifications and either click on Generate button or put in your own Quick Launch ID. We do recommend that you allow the system to manage the Quick Launch ID by always clicking on the Generate button, like this. You would then choose your color scheme as well as your icon. We have two different earthquake icons that you can choose from. We'll pick this one. Once you've filled out the top section of the template creation window, you will proceed to complete the rest of the template settings following the same process that we indicated in our first training session on how to create a communication from scratch, called Training Sessions Part 1, where you will find information on how to set the to field, the subject line, the content and the responses, as well as any other additional advanced options that you would like to include. Please refer to that training video if you need a refresher on how to populate these sections. Let's quickly fill out the to field with the broadcast group called All. In the subject line, I will put Training Test. I will also add some content. Please remember there are three ways in which you can create the content. You can type it in, you can call to record if you want to provide an audio file, or if you have already created your audio, then you will be able to upload the audio using this button here. For this training, we'll just type it in. There is an earthquake warning in effect. Please take precautions and follow the instructions for your local authorities. The next section that you will need to fill out is responses. Since this is an announcement, you are basically letting all your employees know that an earthquake warning has been put in place in their area and therefore the response that you will be waiting back will be a message received confirmation. Once you have preset all of these different sections for the communication, you will go ahead and click Save and Close. As soon as you do this, under Manage Library, you will see the new template that has been created. And if we come over the Alert console, you will notice the new template is right here, where you will be able to execute it in a quick and easy manner. Now, let's go back to Manage Library and take a look at the other actions that you can complete regarding templates. When you have a template that has already been created and you would like to make modifications to it, there are two simple ways in which you can do that. Highlighting the template that you want to modify and click on Edit, or you can double-click on the name of the template that you want to modify. Once you have made the modifications to the content, subject line, to field, or any other settings that you wish to update, then you will be able to click on Save and Close. And all of those edits would take effect on the template. As you can see, Creating a template from either an existing communication that you have already executed or creating it from scratch in the Manage Library section is a really quick and easy process for you to do. It is important to remember that if you have any issues filling out the different sections of the communication, please refer to our training session video part 1, where it will be explained in more detail. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how to execute a communication template that has already been created using the Alert console. When we want to execute a template, we will come to the Alert console, where you have access to a list of all the different templates that have been created for your company. The template called Compose will allow you to quickly create a communication from scratch through the Alert console. For this training, we want to execute the template called Earthquake Warning. We will double-click into the Earthquake Warning template. A new window will pop up where you will be able to modify the to field, the subject line, and the content. And then we will be able to click on Send All Notifications. The only fields that you will be able to modify before you execute a template would be the to field, the subject line, and the content. You will not be able to modify any advanced options that you have preset on your responses. If you try to modify the responses, as you can see, the system will not allow us. If you do need to make any modifications to any of those additional settings, you will need to cancel out of here. Go back to the Manage Library, where you have the actual template, click the one that you want to modify, and proceed with the modifications, and then click Save and Close. Then, go back to the Alert console for execution. Let's say that I do not want to send it to all. I just wanted to send it to Abdiel. I'll type in the name of the user and select it from the list. And if I have a broadcast group, smart group, escalation group created, I will be able to type in the name of any of those different types of group, and the information will be populated, as you can see. Let's send it out to everybody again. I can modify the subject line and the content. After verifying that everything has been preset correctly, I will click on Send All Notifications. You can send a notification from a template with 1 or 2 clicks. You will get this notification, Successfully Submitted. You can view the responses as they come in from the Send Notifications section. For more information on how to review the responses, please go to the Training Sessions video part 1. As you can see, sending a communication from a template is a quick and easy process. Now, let's take a look at the different groups that we have available for you in AlertFind. Groups are basically distribution lists that you can create and modify as you wish. We have 3 types of distribution lists: broadcast groups, escalation groups, and smart groups. Let's begin by taking a look at broadcast groups. Broadcast groups are considered static lists. And by static, I mean that the list membership needs to be managed manually by the admin that is creating the actual distribution list, or updated whenever the API connector completes a call. Therefore, it is basically the same as any distribution list that you would create on Outlook or Gmail, where you give it a name and you add one by one the different email addresses of the people you want to include. Once the list has been created, you can use the name of the list to populate the to field, and the system will send out the communication to all of the members of that specific list. AlertFind broadcast groups work in the same way. However, since adding 200 plus users to a static distribution list is a really time-consuming process, we have allowed all of our customers to choose whether or not they want us to create those broadcast groups for them, based on the roster import file at the moment of creating their instance. Based on the roster import file used to create this training instance, we went ahead and created all these broadcast groups. Part of that process is seamless to you, and it involves creating specific back-end programming scripts that would manage the memberships for you, based on the roster import. What that means is that these broadcast groups that are created here do not follow the formal static definition for a broadcast group. The members of this list are basically managed by the import process, whether it's a roster import or an API call. Every time that a sync happens, the backend programming that has been put in place would automatically move the members according to the information that you are providing in your system of record. So, let's take a look at how to create a broadcast group and how to manage the members of a broadcast group from the user interface. First, let's take a look at the ones that have been created here by our backend programming. If you want to modify an existing broadcast group, all you would have to do is to highlight the broadcast group you want to modify and click on Edit. When you click on View Details, the only thing that you will be able to check is the membership. When you click on the Edit button, you get this new screen, which is basically your general settings for the broadcast group. As you can see here, you will be able to modify the group name, the group description, and the Quick Launch ID. Do remember that the Quick Launch ID is specifically used for executing a communication from the hotline number, and also accessing the particular broadcast group from the app. It is important that you create a Quick Launch ID number every time you create a broadcast group. In this particular case, since this is a broadcast group that has been created by the backend programming, that rule does not take effect. Once you have made these edits to the general information, you can click on Save. Now, if you want to manage the membership, you would double-click into the name of the group or highlight the one that you want to see, and click on View Details, and then go to Group Membership. When in Group Membership, you would be able to click on Manage Membership, and here you will either be able to add or remove users that should no longer be part of this particular broadcast group. To do that, you can drag and drop the username into the membership section to make them a member, or highlight as many as you want to add and then click Add Selected. In case you need to remove a user, you would highlight the one that you want to remove and click on Delete. As you can see, managing broadcast groups is a completely manual process, and that's the reason why it's considered a static distribution list. Okay, so when you are done modifying your broadcast group, then you would click on Close. Other actions that you can perform to any type of distribution list from this section are Update Status. When clicking on Update Status, you can disable the group, and basically, you won't be able to choose that group in the To field of a communication. Delete. You can use this section to delete an existing group that you no longer want to use. Show Subteam. When you click on Show Subteam, it'll show all the broadcast groups on the current team or any subteam. You can show all the disabled broadcast groups by clicking on this button. And you can also either compose a communication to a broadcast, a smart group, or escalation group that you have selected. Or you can download a report of that specific broadcast group. Do remember, as I mentioned before, that any broadcast group that was created based on the backend programming when creating your instance, the membership will be managed by that process. And every time you complete a new roster import, the membership of the broadcast group would automatically be updated based on that new information that you are providing. Now, let's take a look at how to create a broadcast group here in the user interface. You click on New. You will give it a name, in this case Training Test. Provide a description, and you can either auto-generate the unique ID or add the unique ID yourself. As best practice, it's easier to just click on Create Unique ID, and the system will generate the ID for you, and then you will click on Save. As soon as I click on Close, you can see the new broadcast group has been created and a new Quick Launch ID has been provided. When I double-click into it, I'm able to manage the membership. Let's proceed to add some members by clicking on Manage Membership. You can add members from individual users, other existing broadcast groups, or smart groups. For instance, if I want to do a nested broadcast group, I will be able to add any of these broadcast groups or smart groups that have been previously created. We can add members to this new broadcast group by drag and drop or highlight the ones that you wish to add, and click on Add Selected, or double-clicking on the names of the ones that you wish to add. In this way, you are able to add the different members to the newly created distribution list. When I click on Close, I see the distribution list has been created. If I click back, I see that the source says UI and the status says Enable. Therefore, this broadcast group is ready to be used. In other cases, you will notice that the source would say Import. That means that the membership is being managed by the import process. Now, let's take a look at Smart Groups. Smart Groups are dynamic lists, and by dynamic, I mean that the membership is managed by AlertFind based on the criteria that you specifically set. Those criteria are generated using the custom fields that you have created. When you switch from one type of group to another, you will notice that the buttons on the top navigation bar remain the same. You would be able to view details, edit, update status, delete, show subteams, show disable, compose to, or download report. You will find the same features that you did on broadcast groups, and it will be exactly the same for escalation groups. The only thing that changed here is that when you click on New, you are actually creating a smart group and not a broadcast group or an escalation group. Once you click on New, you will give the smart group a name. In this case, let's say Location Panama. You could also add a description: all users in the Panama office. Now, we are ready to set the criteria by clicking on Edit Criteria. On this new pop-up window, let's click on New. Now, you will see a list of all the different custom fields that have been created. Now we can choose which custom fields you wish to base the distribution list on. For this training, we will use Location. Then, click on Create. Here in the operator, we are going to choose equals. Please note that when we use equals as operator, it will become case sensitive. In this case, I'm going to put Panama in the value field and click Save. As soon as you click on Save, you will see that the system displays any name that meets the criteria that you created. In this case, we have 2 people in the Panama office. Now, if I go back to modify the criteria and I put in Panama with a lowercase p, you will see that there are no users found. The distribution list is considered dynamic because members are chosen by the system based on the criteria used. The membership of this particular smart group automatically populates. The system goes through all of your user base, determines which users fit the specific criteria that you have set, and then populates those members automatically. Every time that you do a new roster import or a new update using your API connector, the system would automatically go through these rules and update the different smart groups that you have created. As an example, let's say that Madeline moves from the Panama office to the Romania office in the future. As soon as the change is completed in AlertFind, either through a roster import or through an API call, then the system will automatically determine that this criteria is no longer met because Romania is the new location, and it would automatically remove Madeline from the smart group called Panama and add him to the one called Romania. To complete the smart group creation process, you will click on Save. You can create more than one criteria per SMART group. Let's say that I want to make sure that I sent out the communication not only to Panama office but also to a department in Panama. You can create a second criteria that would take that into account. It is important that when you create more than one criteria, you remember that the operator will always be AND. There is no way for you to choose a different operator between criteria. If you need to remove a criteria, all you will have to do is to highlight the one that you want to remove and click on Delete. Once you have the right criteria in place, you click on Save, then you click on Save again, and your SMART group has been created. If you want to modify a SMART group that already exists, you need to search for the name of the SMART group that you wish to modify and either double-click on the name or highlight it and click on Edit. A new window will pop up that will allow you to modify the group settings. The third type of group that you can create is called escalation group. Escalation groups are used for a specific use case, usually involving a first responder situation where you create a list of usernames and the system will send the communication out to the first person in the list. If this person does not respond in a certain amount of time, the communication will go to the next one in the list, and so on and so forth, until somebody responds. Then, the communication would stop. Let's take a look at how to create an escalation group. You can click on New, give the escalation group a name. For this training, I will call it First Responder. You would proceed to fill out the description field and generate a quick launch ID. Proceed to click on Save, and once we have the escalation group created, we're able to click on Manage Members and proceed to add the different users that we want to be part of this particular escalation group. Note that you can add individual users, broadcast groups, or escalation groups as member of the escalation group that you are creating. In this case, let's add Abdiel, John, David, Claire, and Madeline to this escalation group test. This is the ordered list. You can move the different members up and down in the list using these arrows according to your preference. So, if I want the communication to be sent out to John first, I would highlight John and click on the up arrow until he is the one in the first slot. If I don't want to use the arrows, I can also highlight the name and drag and drop him onto the position that I wish him to have. Next step would be to add the delays, like this. You can add as many delays as needed, and once you have created the delays, you can move them to the specific section where you want them. When you execute the communication to this specific escalation group, the communication will be sent first to John and then it will wait for 5 minutes. If John does not respond within those 5 minutes, it will be sent to Claire and then it'll wait for another 5 minutes. If either John or Claire reply within those additional 5 minutes, the communication would stop and it would never be sent to either David or Abdiel. In order for the escalation group to run as designed, the notification responses must have the response limit turned on with a specific number of people that can respond. You can definitely modify the amount of minutes that you want within each delay. It can be as small as 1 minute or as many minutes as the situation will require. An example of where escalation groups have been used is in hospital emergency rooms. They would create a SMART group with each one of the different shifts for their emergency room personnel. They would have shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, etc. All of those shifts are managed based on the information provided through the schedule API calls from their system of record. For instance, there is a major car accident and the hospital will execute a communication to the escalation group letting them know that a major car accident has taken place and there will be an increase of patients who will need to be taken care of in the emergency room. This communication would be sent out to the first shift. It would then wait for a short while and get sent out to the second shift, and on until one of those shifts responds they are on their way to the emergency room. If you need any assistance to go through those use cases and see which of these distribution lists would best benefit you, please contact your assigned Customer Success Manager, and they will be able to help you to determine which type of distribution list you need to create for each scenario that you will be using in AlertFind. So to recap, in today's training session, we have learned how to create and manage templates, how to execute templates from the Alert Console, and the different types of distribution lists that you can create in AlertFind. If you have any questions or concerns regarding these topics, please do not hesitate to contact your Customer Success Manager for further guidance. Thank you very much for watching this video, and we will see you on our next training session.